We could test our levels as well, Paul, I guess.
Yep.
Poached egg on toast, thank you very much. What about you?
Well, you did very well, because I just had cornflakes, 2 spoonfuls of cherry yoghurt.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
And a lovely piece of Murgatroyd and Snodgrass's magnificent cheese loaf. Toasted.
Cheese loaf?
Yes.
Now that's something I need to get into. Murgatroyd and...
Yeah, sometimes abbreviated to M&S.
Right. Sorry.
And a cup of tea.
And a cup of tea, excellent. Yeah. I had diluted orange juice today, because you're not supposed to drink the whole thing, are you? I gather that's it's terribly bad for you. In terms of whatever, I don't know, nutritionists say, don't they? So yes, that was about it. I'd have to say beautiful journey as well. This is about the most seamless journey I've had from Kent to across the crossing. I say, since I've been doing this job to come to Chelmsford. So not a lot on the roads. It was
you got lucky.
Straightforward. Yeah,
I had a good journey as well. So there we are.
Yeah.
I think that wraps up the little breakfast
I think so.
bulletin, and anybody who just happens to be listening, will the real event will start at 11 o'clock.
It will indeed, with Essex 208 behind, 179.
Yeah, and
5.
I think I'm right in saying that it's 200 now that you take off. So
it is.
188 needed to save the follow-on. 200 plus a 1. Used to be 150, now 200. So
yes.
Essex need a further 9.
A bit further, yes, absolutely 9. Yes. Yeah. So unlikely that they will be asked to follow on, even if Kent were to do that. I think
I don't know.
Mind you, if we cast our minds back to Canterbury towards the end of last year, and which has put a smile on your face, Paul, and I'm grimacing through it. We know that many wickets can fall for very few runs in fixtures between
Kent
these two sides.
Kent shot out for 40.
Indeed. And I was trying not to
memorable game.
Face that.
Just about a decade ago now, here at Chelmsford in pretty awful weather, and Kent batted and were 9 for 5. But the good news for Kent is that along came Darren Stevens and
Geraint Jones. Indeed, I was here for that match. Yes,
and put on 200 for the 6th wicket. After which the remaining 5 just went down like that, and there's an extraordinary scorecard with 2 centurions and nobody else getting anywhere near double figures. And I think Kent got about 220 odd all out. It was all rather academic because the weather sort of won out in the end, and I don't think the game reached a result. But Stevens, remarkably, still there.
He is indeed 44 now.
Fantastic.
Count them.
Take my hat off to him.
Yeah, absolutely, and showing. Well, I don't want to use all our best stuff, but I gather showing little signs that he's any less fit than he was last year when he took a whole bundle of wickets and scored a double 100 at the end of the season. So, yeah.
Well, I tell you what, when Essex came to Canterbury last year, all the talk was that Stevens wasn't being retained by Kent at the end of the year. I made the point then that I thought at least 6 counties would be happy to offer him a 1-year rolling contract, and I included Essex in that, because he's such a, even if you say, well, we've really got our 11 sorted out, but there's always injuries, and if you can pull in a player of his calibre, don't care how old he is, all that experience and know-how, and the guy can bowl forever, he just ambles up. Rather, always reminds me his bowling style a little bit of Graham Gooch, who also used to amble up and could bowl all day if he'd needed to.
I would completely concur with that, and it was notable in the warm-up match when everyone else was restricted to 10 or 11 overs, all the other seamers in the day, that Stevens bowled 16. I think he came on for a 3rd spell, and that's just his. I mean, he likes to bowl to keep fit to bowl. If that makes sense.
And he probably claims that his limbs seize up if he doesn't get enough exercise, and there's something in that.
Yeah.
Whether we'll ever see any of the younger generation playing to an age like that, I think is doubtful, because the way, it's not their fault, but the way life is slanted now is into speed and against stamina.
I'd agree. Year-round cricket as well. If you reach any sort of notoriety or fame in the game, you probably could play 12 months, couldn't you? Which is not particularly good for the body, I'd imagine, but there we are.
There we are then.
There we are.
We wrap up the breakfast bulletin here before we ruin all our jokes for the rest of the day. See you at 11.
really don't know. Oh no, I didn't reach the coast of anything until the dual carriageway, so we did it around for a bit, so I got some petrol as well. But, yeah, it was fairly straightforward up in that, wasn't it? But, yeah. No, not at all. Thank you. It was great to work together again. On those rare occasions we get to do it. What has to happen for us to work together, Max? There has to be some sort of global pandemic. That's probably not a great thing. Goodness knows. Well, in a way, I think it does, because we'll do Dover obviously home and away, and then no, quite, and then we can cherry pick the other ones, and with 5 teams in there, we'll have a lot of derbies, and if we don't have, that's my thinking, we'll have a lot of derbies, but it's not a derby on that weekend. One of our teams will probably be playing an important team to then, if they're straight to second, they may well be playing top or whatever. So yeah, straight to oh, there you go. Well, it's probably true. But, yeah. Thank you very much. This is the, yes, we're not posting the screen, so that's fine. It can stay on yours. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's fine. Lovely, thanks, man. Bye.
And a very warm welcome as the Day 3 Essex weekend is about to get underway. I'm Paul Newton, returning after more than 10 months actually since I was last with you, describing Essex clinching the title down at Taunton last September. Essex not going so well in this particular game. They have a rather poor record in first games actually. It's a few years since they won the first game of the season, and I think they're going to struggle to win this one. Thoughts are primarily focused, I think, on trying to make sure they don't lose it. Ryan Tender-Scarter is about to face the first ball of the day from Darren Stevens from the Hayes Close end. Just waiting for our scoreboard to click into action here. We've got 2 slips of gully, backward point, extra cover mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket and long leg. Absolutely standard field, you would say. Not that long to go for the second new ball. Stevens is on his way. sunshine here, quite a lot of cloud around. Stevens bowls to Tenduscarter, who comes circumspectly forward and plays it to extra cover. And the score remaining 179 for 5. Kent having made 387. And in this shortened competition for the Bob Willis Trophy, the save the follow-on mark has been increased from 150 to 200 differential, so Essex only need a further 9 to save the follow-on. And Stevens is in bowls, the ball's played into the offside and there's no run. And of course nothing to say that Kent would necessarily enforce the follow-on should they have the opportunity, because still a lot of time left in the game. I must also point out to you that the forecast does suggest this region could be hit by some heavy showers this afternoon. We wait all this time to get going and then it threatens to rain as Stevens is on his way in. From the Hayes close end bowls to Tenduscarter, for the first time plays the ball into the onside, mid-wicket, and there is no run. And Stevens at this gentle medium pace, which looks deceptively easy to play but is anything but, has as always hit the mark straight away in terms of being right on line. Ivan Thomas, the fieldsman there at mid-wicket, in his 44th year now, maybe his 45th actually, as he comes in, bowls, and this ball is defended to short extra, and there is no run. And that is Marcus O'Riordan with the fielding there. Still waiting for the scoreboard actually to re-engage itself. I'm assured that it was working yesterday. 2 slips and a gully, noticeably further up than usual, because of course Stevens is a very gentle medium pace. Bowls the last ball is over, appeal for LBW. It was a good shout, but I think probably just going down leg side. And as usual I can't count, I thought that was the last ball of the over. There's still one to come. It's certainly pitched pretty much bang on middle, but it kept low, struck Tenduscarter only just above boot level, and he is LBW a lot of times. It has to be said, his first 6 dismissals in 2019 were all LBW, and in the umpire's view it was just going to have done a little bit too much and beaten leg stump. And slight delay here because the wicketkeeper is going to stand up to the stumps, and hence helmet being fetched from the boundary. Tenduscarter prepares to settle over his bat again as wicketkeeper now arrives, Ollie Robinson, and here is Stevens in to complete the over, and the ball played up to O'Riordan in the covers. No run, maiden over. It's as you were, 179 for 5. Essex replying to Kent's 387, and all the time bear in mind that the save the follow-on mark is 9 runs away at 188. I shall be updating BBC Essex in a couple of moments' time, after which it will be a great pleasure to welcome Matt Cole of BBC Radio Kent to the airwaves, and he will be pleased, I think, to see the position Kent are in at this stage. You would think Essex ought to be able to save the follow-on from here, and yes, we're just going into the 11 o'clock news. Stand by, and it's going to be Grant Stewart to bowl the first over from the river end. A very good morning. The sun is shining at the county ground. Great to be bringing you cricket again. Essex haven't moved on from their overnight 179 for 5. We've just had the 1 over from the 44-year-old Darren Stevens, a maiden bang on the mark, loud shout for LBW, 5th ball of the day. Ryan Tenduscarter has survived that. Now this year the save the follow-on mark is 200 below the side that batted first, so that's against the normal 150. So Essex only need a further 9 to reach the 188 they would need to save the follow-on if asked to do so. At the moment, Ryan Tenduscarter and the Essex wicket-keeper are doing their best to put a partnership together after there's a bit of collapse of wickets yesterday. Adam Wheater it is, Essex's wicketkeeper batsman, who is settling over the bat in the second over bowled by Grant Stewart. The overnight score remains the way. Essex 179 for 5. So, time to say a very warm welcome to Matt Cole. Matt.
Good morning. And yes, what a beautiful day it is here at Chelmsford, isn't it? And looking out on the scene that we love, and so many supporters we're obviously keenly aware are being denied at the moment, which is a great sadness to them. But we hope we can bring at least some light and life today into this game. Pretty much a war of attrition, I suppose, towards the end of day 2. Neither of us were here, Paul, but I listened to a lot of the commentary yesterday, and Essex digging in a little bit, and none so well as these two out there at the middle at the moment.
Stewart's in. Riverend bowls. The first attacking shot of the day, clipped off the pads by Wheater. Stopped not particularly cleanly, but the important thing is that Matt Milnes did get a hand down on it at very deep mid-on. They get a single, 180 for 5. 8 more runs needed to save the follow-on. Still no sign of the scoreboard clicking into motion today. The alarm clock there obviously not quite working as it might. I'm assured it was working perfectly well yesterday. Wheater with the single, and 180 for 5.
I do slightly feel for people left certainly at the mercy of my maths, Paul. I know you'll be keeping up with it like clockwork, so there's no problem.
Well, having said that, I hate to correct you, but I haven't got the overnight scores of the two batsmen, actually. I know they were both in the 20s.
So Tenderskart was on 22, Wheater on 24, so Wheater now has 25.
Thank you very much indeed, and here is Stewart in bowls, and Tenderskart plays this not really out of the middle of the bat, and Tenderskart is just asking somebody away to our left. There shouldn't really be anyone there at all, but somebody clearly is in his eye line and wants them moved. So Tenderskart on 22, and 25 to Wheater, who's added a single this morning. 180 for 5.
Wouldn't you just know it, the camera woman that set up, thinking that she's doing absolutely the right thing, socially distancing from everybody at the front of the stand, but just catching the eye perhaps of Ryan Tenderskart as Stewart comes over the wicket.
Bowls to the former Essex captain, who plays the ball. This does come out of the middle of the bat, just to the onside of straight. And again, there is no run. It's 180 for 5. I forgot to ask you before play started, so very unprofessional, but then I'm renowned for this. Do you prefer to commentate an over at a time or in half-hour blocks?
An over at a time is fine by me,
yep.
but I'll go with you're the hosts, you know.
Yeah, no, we'll do it in over at a time. But I must warn you, I'll sometimes forget, so just tell me to shut up. As Stewart's in and bowls, and this ball's clipped away but very well fielded at short mid-wicket, or otherwise that was going to be 4 runs. Jordan Cox there absolutely on his toes to do the fielding, and that completes the second over of the day, with Essex resuming at 179 for 5 and progressing by just the single that Adam Wheater took at the start of this over from Grant Stewart. The over's now over, and 180 for 5. Essex still require 8 to avoid any possibility of being asked to follow on.
Indeed, so beautifully set up for the day. Just saying this is on BBC Radio Kent on our update. Kent's task, simple as this: take quick wickets, build an unbeatable lead, and then bowl Essex out on the final day. Well, that rather discounts the two of them out there at the moment. That's the point I made to our listeners, is that they built up a good stand already, these two. Stands at 36 now, as Stevens bowls to Wheater, just pushed into the offside. Actually got slightly on the back foot there, angle out to Marcus O'Riordan, who is at extra cover. They've got a slip and a gully, really. So, sorry, 2 slips and a gully, I should say, because we missed the wicketkeeper. Robinson up to the stumps, that's why. Jordan Cox actually had a very acute angle to Robinson, but well back alongside him, Heino Kuhn, and then gully or 4 slip is Jack leaning. This one's defended by Wheater on the off stump, and there's no run. Hamid Kadri is out at point, then O'Riordan at extra cover. As I said, Daniel Bell-Drummond, the captain, is away at mid-off. Mid-on is Matt Milnes. Ivan Thomas is at mid-wicket, and by dint of there being one man left, that must be Grant Stewart down at long leg. Stewart then trundles in, just opens the face and runs that down to the man at gully, does Wheater. No alarms there, like a bit of pace off even from Stevens' standard there, just allowed to pat down into the ground and fielded by Leaning, and there's no run, so still 180 for 5.
Yep, but for the moment the Cloud is winning the day, and the Sunshine in which we started has taken a breather.
Stevens once more, around old age of 44, left outside the off stump by Wheater, and no run.
Yeah, it is a very important from an Essex point of view, this partnership, because at 144 for 5 last night, when 3 wickets had gone down in fairly quick succession, had been 120 for 2. Brown going for 61, Cushy not lasting long.
Stevens now to Wheater once more, leaves that again outside the off stump, just gently seaming away from him into the wicketkeeper's gloves, no run.
And if Essex are not only to save the follow-on, but to get, shall we say, fewer than 100 runs behind Kent's first innings score, which would be odds against from the position they're in at the moment, but Simon Harmer, as Kent have already found out last year, is very, very useful with the bat. But I think these two and Harmer really hold the key.
Yes. Stevens once more from the Hayes close end, and this one's a little bit shorter, and Wheater tries to take advantage in attack, but on the back foot, not particularly well timed, out into the offside, and Reardon fields, number 55 on his back. The young spinner, we're looking to add to his first 2 first-class wickets for Kent, which he took yesterday. There's no run there. Stevens and Milnes operating in partnership. I would say once again, Matt Milnes, from his figures anyway, wasn't here yesterday, looking very mean in terms of economy, which is, there's one thing you'd say of him last year, really his breakthrough season for Kent, is good strike bowler, but a little bit expensive on the economy. But he bowled 10 overs for 7, 2 for 7 I think it was in the practice match, and once again he's being very mean here. Sorry, beg your pardon, it's Stewart, isn't it, from this end? I thought he was picking up the ball there, Milnes, but Stewart once more.
Comes in, bowls, and solid defence from the former Essex captain Ryan Tenduscarter. Tom Wesley having taken over at the start of this season, as plays it back to the bowler here, Tenduscarter. 180 for 5, just a single added. Now, with apologies to Essex listeners, Matt thankfully has got his Wi-Fi working. I typically haven't. So could both Kent and Essex supporters address their emails? We'd love to hear from you to kentcricket@gmail.com. kentcricket@gmail.com. Stewart's in bowls, and Tenduscarter works this ball out into the covers. Comes rather a long way down the wicket, considering that if the ball was fielded well, which it was, there was never going to be a single there, and he has to nip back smartly into his ground. No, it's not Ivan Thomas with the fielding. It is O'Riordan, Marcus O'Riordan, yeah. And smart bit of fielding, and score remaining 180 for 5.
And if anyone in the studio could just clip what I said about Matt Milnes, and when he does come on to bowl, use that as the intro, that'd be fantastic. When we go live, this will all be sorted out, I'm sure.
Just the one slip, who's really where second slip would normally be, in a wide gully here. And here's the first run of the morning to Ryan Tenduscarter. Moves along to 23, and Essex to 181 for 5. 2 singles added this morning, 1 to each batsman, and Essex now requires 7 further runs to avoid the possibility of being asked to follow on.
So Tenduscarter adds to his overnight score. He has 23, Wheater has 25. The computer scoreboards had somewhat stalled as well. They're now up and running. We're hoping to get something from the main scoreboard here as well. The players will probably want to know as well. Once they're past the follow-on, perhaps not. They'll just keep on batting.
Stewart on his way again. The sun's returned for the time being. There's a lovely shot here. That's going to be 4 runs to Adam Wheater. Lovely extra cover drive. The ball just crossing the rope now. And that takes Essex to within 3 runs in one fell swoop of avoiding the possibility of being asked to follow on, as Wheater moves along to 29 with that boundary. And a handsome shot it was as well. No great backlift, but beautifully.
Yeah, lovely through the offside there. And Grant Stewart perhaps just struggling a little bit